You're in the lead during a match of Mario Party 3 and you have the perfect plan. Then boom! Game Guy space. With no choice and no exit, all your coins are put on the line. There's potential to win a lot, but it often ends with a nice big zero in your personal bank. It might seem all doom and gloom for this episode of Rare Oddities, but after extensive research, I found that landing on Game Guy is actually not the worst thing that could happen. Starting up Game Guy will randomly throw you into one of 4 minigames, and we're going to analyze each one and find out what actually matters, what your odds are, and which minigame you'll want to pray for. Our first minigame is Game Guy's Lucky 7. You and Game Guy will each roll a 1 through 6 die and move up the steps accordingly. If you go higher or land on the same spot, your coins are doubled. The catch? Both of you have the choice to roll again. Land on the 7 to increase your coins tenfold, and go past the 7 to automatically lose. We did some testing and we found that Game Guy will always opt to roll again if you meet him or go higher. Anything lower is random, unless he's sitting at a 5 or a 6. He doesn't want to budge once landing there, and for good reason. The other great thing about this minigame is that the dice rolls are actually random, including Game Guy's. And there's not much else to say about this minigame other than the fact that you have the highest probability of getting a 7 if you roll both dice blocks. That's right, you're looking at a 16% chance. On to the next one, Game Guy's Magic Boxes. This one is very straightforward. It's a 50-50% chance at doubling or losing everything, a simple choice between left or right, 1 or 2. You have the option to continue doubling your coins for an extra 2 rounds, but when it's up to me, I like to close up shop and take my win the moment I get it. Take note, winning chests are all predetermined the moment the game begins, so your choice doesn't affect the next couple of chests at all. Our third game is Game Guy's Roulette. Don't pick the Shy Guy multiplier, the game will know you picked it and change the results, right? Well, not quite. See, the outcome of Game Guy's spin is determined the moment the minigame begins, before you even have a chance to think about your choice. If the game determined it was going to land on Toad, it's going to land on Toad no matter what. That includes the amount of coins you bet too. Doesn't matter if it's 100 coins or just one single coin, the roulette does not pick favorites. For those curious, the odds of landing on Koopa Troopa is 30%, Bomb-Omb is 25%, Goomba is 20%, Boo is 15%, Toad is 10%, and the ultra lucky Game Guy sits at 5%. Makes that times 64 multiplier seem a tad bit more possible. And hey, it even happened to me recently.
Uh-oh.
You got it!
Wow! You did it!
Wow! Why could have been 2 coins? And finally, we have Chain Chomp's Sweet Surprise that was by far the most difficult minigame to figure out. I made over 1,000 attempts, yes 1,000, to try and figure out what actually influences your decision. Granted, I used save states and cranked the FPS to past 300, but it still took forever. To start, we determined the outcome is not predetermined until you pick a chomp. That means it's still random when the minigame first starts, when Game Guy is talking, and even while reading the Chain Chomp's messages. Now, the tricky part is all the variables that could influence your outcome. You have the amount of coins you are betting, the different win multipliers, the messages from the Chain Chomps, and even the ability to pick between 2 different Chain Chomps. Which of these actually matter? For my initial test, the goal was to create different circumstances where the variables were constant and consistent, while one variable changed with each test. I started by using versions of the minigame where the multiplier was always set to times 32. For the coin count, we had it set to 100. As for the text, we realized there were 10 different messages the Chain Chomps could use. 5 were considered good and hungry, whereas the other 5 were considered bad and not hungry. The good ones include, I'm so hungry I could faint. I haven't eaten since this morning. Love that cake. I'm starving. Food. And the bad ones include, no more cake. My tummy hurts. It's too sweet. I like mushrooms more than cake. Feed 'em faster. For the purpose of the test, we found a version of the minigame where both chain chomps said something from the positive group, in this case the morning and faint messages. Very positive. With that figured out, I created a save state at the chain chomp selecting screen and ran 100 attempts at selecting the little chain chomp. The results? The big chain chomp won 94 times, and the little guy won 6 times. For the next test, we kept everything the same, but this time we selected the big chain chomp 100 times. The results were nearly identical, with the big chain chomp winning 93 times and the little one 7 times. Based on this, I would say the chain chomp you pick does not affect the outcome. A lot of people think that the lower coin amount you bet, the higher chances you have for the little chain chomp to win. We put this to the test with our third and fourth variations where everything was kept the same, but this time we only bet a single coin. When we picked the little chomp, the results were 91 to 9. And when we picked the bigger boy, the results were 95 to 5. Looks to me like the coin amount you bet doesn't really change things. But maybe the text has something to do with it. Our next scenario had the big chomp say a hungry message and the little chomp stick with a not hungry text. The results were 98 to 2. When the text messages were reversed, we got 97 to 3. Conclusion? The text doesn't seem to have any real effect on the results either. This is by no means any kind of confirmation, and this is more of a theory, but my test results suggest the only thing that changes the odds of winning is the multiplier. The higher the multiplier, the lower the chances of the little chomp winning. After running many more tests, we concluded that picking the little chomp with the ×4 multiplier gives a 50 to 30% success rate. ×8 is 30 to 20%, ×16 is 20 to 10%, ×32 is 10 to 1%, and ×64 is less than 1%. So, if you run into this minigame and the multiplier is at ×4, I say go for it. You'll likely have just under a 50-50 chance. If you're betting a small amount and a ×8 shows up, why not? You're probably going to lose, but there's still a decent chance to win. ×16 and ×32, I say avoid. It's just not worth it. Just double what you have and be on your way. ×64, never do this option. Don't ever do ×64. It is not worth it. And in typical Rare Oddities fashion, here is pure gameplay of winning the max prize amount in all 4 minigames.
Finish!
The only other thing to mention about Game Guy is that he also hosts the Game Guy Room, which you can unlock by getting at least 8 S rankings in story mode. The goal is to reach 1,000 coins by playing the 4 minigames at random with the 10 coins you're given at the start. For those that never got this far, getting 1,000 coins will unlock Mario's Puzzle Party Pro. Not much to say here besides the roulette that determines the minigame is predetermined, but I guess there isn't much you can do with that anyway. The next time you play Mario Party 3, don't be so timid when visiting Game Guy. Take what you learned here and rake in those coins. Hope for the chain chop minigame and pray the roulette doesn't appear. If there are any rare events or cool occurrences in the Mario Party series that we haven't already covered, make sure to share them in the comments.